UNTV News and Rescue.
Tonight on Y News, Chief Justice Sereno tackles reforms to expedite trial of drug cases and defense causing delays in the Maguindanao massacre trial.
Transport groups and NGOs present to the Senate their proposed solutions to the traffic crisis in Metro Manila.
Commuters react to a possible fare hike for jeepneys. President Rodrigo Duterte sets to release the second list of LGU officials allegedly involved in illegal drug operations in Central Luzon.
Senator Laila de Lima says the Department of Justice will not find true evidence against her.
Rescue work intensifies in quake-flattened Amatrice. Y News begins now.
UNTV News and Rescue Command Center. This is Y News with Angelo Castro III, Gerry Alcantara, and Darlene Basingan.
Daan Bantayan Mayor Vicente Loot surrenders his firearms to the police regional office in Central Visayas. Meanwhile, 10 mayors and vice mayors are expected to be included in the second list of government officials involved in illegal drugs, set to be released by President Rodrigo Duterte. Mon Hokson will tell us why.
We are now on the process of validating more or less 10 mayors and vice mayors of Region 3. There are reports coming in that they are involved also on illegal drugs.
This was the statement of Acting Regional Director Police Chief Superintendent Aaron Aquino of Central Luzon to members of the media with regard to the new batch of names of mayors and vice mayors involved in illegal drugs. About 10 mayors and vice mayors in Central Luzon will be included in the list. After a 2-week validation, the second batch of the so-called narco politicians will be completed.
And after I complete this one, I will be submitting this to our QPNP. And definitely our QPNP will be submitting this to the President of the Philippines.
Although many parties are directly asking him of the list, the police official stands firm that only President Rodrigo Duterte has the right to reveal the names of the said personalities.
In fact, mayroon ngayon Mayor Romate sa akin at sinasabing, Sir, makailang ka naman sa investigasyon para malaman na ng taong bayan na hindi kami involved dito. Eh sabi ko, hindi po ako makikialam sa investigasyon.
Meanwhile, Daan Bantayan Mayor Vicente Loot's surrendered firearms have been formally turned over to the Police Regional Office 7 yesterday after their licenses were cancelled by the Department of the Interior and Local Government. Daan Bantayan Police and Mayor Loot's lawyer, Attorney Russell Fuentes, themselves surrendered the mayor's 12 units of firearms. Among Mayor Loot's surrendered firearms are 6 units of pistols, 4 high-powered rifles, 1 rifle and 1 shotgun. On his part, Police Regional Office 7 Director Chief Superintendent Dolly Talino has advised Mayor Loot to seek security from the national office should there be threats to his life. Loot is one of the local government officials named by President Rodrigo Duterte as personalities involved in illegal drugs. Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue.
Senator Laila de Lima believes that the Department of Justice will not find true evidence to prove her link to drug syndicates. Mon Hokson is back to tell us why.
Department of Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre is confident that President Rodrigo Duterte's allegations against Senator Laila de Lima linking her to drug syndicates have basis and evidence.
Masyadong malalim ang pinanggagalingan ng information from the President. Kaya't kung it is the President who gave the information, you can be sure that it's backed up by hard evidence.
Vitaliano says they have in their possession affidavits of witnesses pointing to the involvement of the lady senator to drugs.
We have to consolidate all this information. They should be verified by the people who has personal knowledge, and that's the only time that we are going to prepare the complaints.
Are they all linking?
And to be investigated during preliminary investigation by the department.
But Senator Leila de Lima insists that these pieces of evidence are fabricated.
Wala po silang makukuha na tunay na ebidensya because I am absolutely 100% sure of myself. I am absolutely 100% sure of my innocence. I have no connections whatsoever to drugs, to the drug links.
De Lima also denied details in the drug matrix presented by President Rodrigo Duterte on drug trade inside the New Bilibid prisons.
I have never seen also anything like this. Can they not come up with something better, something more professional looking?
So scrap paper lang yan,
Scrap paper. It belongs to the garbage cans.
She says she even charged Espino of murder and initiated investigation against him in relation to black sand mining when she was still the DOJ secretary. The senator will be celebrating her birthday soon. She wishes that the president will stop attacking her.
I'll be celebrating my birthday this Saturday. I'll be 57 years old. I'm still young. So sana po, dun sa mga matitira ko pang mga taon dito, makabuluhan naman ang aking mga gagawin rather than ito na napipilitan akong sumasagot sa mga kabalastugan na ito.
Secretary Aguirre, however, shows they are not bluffing.
Bumabaha ang information, volunteered information na yung mga involvement nitong mga taong ito.
Mon Hokson, UNTV News and Rescue.
Will soon start its own investigation on the rampant illegal drug activities inside the New Bilibid prisons. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
The House of Representatives will soon begin its own investigation on the proliferation of illegal drugs inside the New Bilibid prisons. Under House Resolution number 105, the Solons will conduct the investigation following reports of the increasing number of illegal drug-related cases despite the ardent anti-drug campaign of the Philippine National Police or PNP, especially inside the National Penitentiary. The said investigation will include the possible liability of authorities under the administration of former Department of Justice Secretary and now Senator Leila de Lima. The House leadership, however, says it will not compel Senator de Lima to attend the hearing.
Ay hindi naman natin siya pipilitin na dumalo. No? Nasa sa kanya yon, option niya yon dahil meron naman tayong tinatawag na interparliamentary courtesy. At yun ay ibibigay natin. Igagalang po natin yan.
The Solons will push to investigate the continuous illegal drug operations being conducted by 2 out of 3 top drug leaders who were named by President Rodrigo Duterte, which include Peter Co and Herbert Colanco, despite being detained in the penitentiary.
Lahat po ng tao na may kinalalaman doon sa ating pag-iimbestiga ay atin pong iimbitahin.
To date, a final schedule of the hearing has not yet been set. However, the House Speaker will leave the investigation on lawmakers who have an alleged involvement in illegal drug operations to the appropriate committee. This will include Pangasinan Representative Amado Espino Jr., another personality named by the President.
Hindi man ibig sabihin na pag nandun yung pangalan mo, ay kami dito sa Kongreso, meron kaagad gagawin din na drastic. We have to look into that. Meron naman tayong proper committees para tignan itong problema na ito.
Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Philippine National Police or PNP wants to assume control over the training of new police recruits. Lea Ilagan will tell us why.
Sa buong mundo, kami lang ang police agency na yung training ay hindi namin hinahawakan. The police force who is not training its own policemen. So it's very odd, very ironic at I cannot, I don't see the logic.
Philippine National Police Chief Police Director General Ronald Bato de la Rosa expresses his desire to assume control over the training of new police recruits as the PNP is alarmed over the increasing number of police non-commissioned officers involved in illegal drugs. Records of the PNP Internal Affairs Service shows 81 drug cases that involved Police Officer 1 or PO1, 42 cases involved Police Officer 2 or PO2, and 48 cases involved Police Officer 3 or PO3.
Yung PO1s, sila yung nasa kalsada. They have the more frequent contact with the elements there, di ba? Even the good citizen and the bad citizen, especially the bad citizen. And they are there.
The police believes taking charge of the recruits' training is the solution to the problem. At present, the National Police Training Institute of Police Public Safety College or PPSC handles the training of police recruits.
So in the PNP, we also want to handle the one to take charge of the training of our personnel so that we will assume responsibilities ng skills enhancement nila, intellectual development, and moral transformation.
According to the Institute, the last 6 months of the recruits' 1-year training are spent on the field exercise which is managed by the PNP.
1 year yung buong training nila eh. 4 PO1s, yung bagong PO1s. Ang umahawak na noon, yung last 6 months, ay yung training service. So ang binibigay lang ng National Police Training Institute, yun lang academics.
PNP continuously exert efforts to discipline and clear the minds of some personnel who seem tempted with a huge amount of money involving in illegal drugs. Leia Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue Camp Krame.
A homeowners association of an exclusive subdivision in Pasig City vows to monitor leaseholders in their community amid the Philippine National Police's ongoing anti-illegal drugs campaign. Mirasol Abugadil tells us why.
Some exclusive villages in Metro Manila have refused to allow the police to conduct upland tokhang inside their respective areas, prompting some local government units to call on barangay officials and homeowners associations to comply. But not a homeowners group in an exclusive subdivision in Pasig City. The Valle Verde 1 Homeowners Association vows to cooperate with the police, vowing to closely monitor those who rent inside the gated village. This is to check whether there are renters who use the houses for illegal drug operations. For them, it is important to prevent the entrance of illegal drugs in Valle Verde. But despite the support, Valle Verde residents have expressed concerns over the PNP's Oplan Tokhang. The Eastern Police District assuaged the residents' fears during a meeting with them earlier. District Director General Romulo Sapitula assures them that the police will not violate the rules and regulations being implemented in every executive village.
So may mga pamamaraan para lang mawala yung fear sa mga tao natin. Saka ang tingin ko naman, kung malinis yung bahay mo, malinis kayo lahat. What's wrong with tokhang? Ikakatok lang naman kami.
The district director also called on to the residents to join them in conducting the Oplan Tokhang inside the village. He also showed them how it is being done. The Valle Verde 1 adds to the list of villages that had agreed to open its gate to the police to conduct random inspection around the subdivision for any illegal activities. Mirasol Abugadil, UNTV News and Rescue, Pasig City.
A former drug dependent and police asset against illegal drug operations sought help from UNTV Serbisyong Kasangbahay. June Soria will tell us why.
24-year-old former drug dependent and police asset alias Totoy sought help from UNTV Serbisyong Kasangbahay for fear of his life. The program assisted alias Totoy to surrender to the PNP Police Community Relations Group headed by Senior Superintendent Gilbert Cruz, who did not hesitate to help him.
Kasi po, baka po mamaya matuluyan ako mamatay. Gusto ko naman lang, hindi man ako kriminal para barilin po eh.
He recounted how a group of uniformed and police in civilian clothes, together with some barangay officials, intercepted him on his way home early morning of August 9 while riding his motorcycle. According to Elias Totoy, the police suddenly opened fire at him which lasted until 5 in the morning.
Hindi ginawa po, tingin ko mga polis po. May paputok agad po sila. Ang ginawa po, nanakbo po, bitawan ko po yung motor. Piniputokan pa rin ako, pang nanakbo. Ang ginawa po, tumalon na po sa ilog.
He added that the police kept on firing at him even when he was underwater. He heard around 8 gunshots.
Umabon po, yung nag-aalisa na sila. Naglangoy aso na po ako hanggang makating sa Santo Niño River Park.
Elias Totoy suspected that the police had been resenting him as they were also the ones who arrested him in March for alleged possession of shabu. However, Marikina City prosecutor dismissed the case due to lack of merits and probable cause. Meanwhile, the members of Marikina Police Community Relations Group have validated that Elias Totoy is not included in the watch list of drug personalities. For his part, Elias Totoy has formally filed a complaint against the police involved as he suspects that the firing incident might be because he was an asset of Marikina Station's anti-illegal drugs group. Elias Totoy also had a standing warrant of arrest for violating the city ordinance of proper dress code and for failing to attend the hearings. With this, he sought the help of UNTV and was able to post bail through the help of the Office of the Mayor and City Administrator of Marikina. Elias Totoy is now relieved and thankful for the assistance the UNTV's Serbisyong Kasangbahay has extended to him. Jun Suriao for Serbisyong Kasangbahay.
Next in Y News. Transport groups and NGOs present to the Senate their proposed solutions to the traffic crisis in Metro Manila.
The Ombudsman sets to finish the investigation on lawmakers involved in the PDAF scam in 2017.
The Department of Agriculture presents its 50.6 billion pesos 2017 proposed budget to the House Appropriations Committee.
Y News will be right back. Transport groups and several non-government organizations present measures that deem feasible to solve the traffic crisis in Metro Manila at the Senate hearing today. Nina Armilio will tell us why.
The Senate Committee on Public Services resumes hearing today on the proposed emergency powers for President Rodrigo Duterte in order to solve the worsening traffic situation in Metro Manila and other highly urbanized areas. Transport groups and several non-governmental organizations were present and offered measures to solve the traffic crisis. Among the measures suggested was carpooling or ride-sharing. Based on records from Uber PH, at least 300,000 commuters take a ride on Uber every day. This would cut the volume of vehicles on roads should the proposal be approved.
It is our hope that the Senate and other government officials see Uber and ride-sharing as an integral part of the solution to the country's traffic challenges, and make it easier for Filipinos to share rides with one another rather than restricting it.
For its part, the Management Association of the Philippines suggests it would be better to construct a floating bridge and additional overpasses to serve as alternative routes to pedestrians and motorists.
We need more bridges across Pasig to relieve
traffic from EDSA and C5.
Also discussed in the hearing earlier were the existing problems among provincial and city buses that traverse EDSA, which are believed to add to traffic. Based on report from the MMDA, there are over 300,000 vehicles traversing EDSA every day, while there are about 4,800 city buses with franchise authorized to travel in Metro Manila. The hearing also tackled the plan of the Department of Transportation to construct 3 bus terminals in FTI Taguig, Coastal Baclaran, and near Veterans Memorial Medical Center in Quezon City. The project aims to make a systematic and disciplined bus operations when it comes to loading and unloading system.
Yun nga pong coastal, yun nga pong uni-wide area, malapit po doon. Yung pong construction will start this 2016, later part of 2016, ngayon na po. And we expect to finish in 2018. Pwede pong mag-start na yung operation by 2018.
The Senate targets to decide on the proposed emergency powers before the year ends. Nina Armilio, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Motorists are experiencing heavy traffic along major routes in EDSA. Aiko Miguel is at Quezon Avenue to tell us why live. Yes, good evening, Aiko.
Yes, good evening, Gerry. Cars are piled up in most of the major roads in Metro Manila. We are advising our motorists to find alternate thoroughfares to avoid heavy traffic. Let's take a look first at the traffic situation along EDSA. Along northbound, traffic is moderate to heavy in North Avenue, White Plains, Connecticut, both sides of Ortigas Avenue, Reliance, Kalayaan, Estrella, Ayala Avenue, Arnaiz, Pasay Road, Magallanes, and Malibay, while traffic is heavy along the northbound of SM Mega Mall and Shaw Boulevard. Traffic is moderate on both sides of Muñoz. And in Trinoma along northbound, motorists experience moderate traffic, and along southbound, traffic is light. Traffic situation in both sides of Rojas Boulevard, Macapagal Avenue, and Mall of Asia is light. Meanwhile, live traffic situation can be viewed on your screen. In EDSA Guadalupe, from Guadalupe to Shaw Boulevard, traffic is heavy, and moderate to heavy traffic is experienced from Orense going to Ayala. And in Quezon Boulevard, Quiapo, Manila, there is traffic build up in Quiapo Church, while moderate traffic is experienced from Quezon Boulevard, Quiapo, Manila going to Loton. And going to España, moderate to heavy traffic is experienced, but there is traffic build up in Raon area. And in Letre Malabon, traffic is light going to C4 and also in Monumento. In Commonwealth, along Techno Hub, light to moderate traffic is experienced from Circle going to Tandang Sora. And traffic is also light to moderate in Tandang Sora going to Circle. In Baclaran Rojas Boulevard, moderate traffic is experienced from Baclaran going to Coastal. And light to moderate traffic is experienced from Baclaran going to Manila. And in Sucat Road, Parañaque City, from Sucat Road to Parañaque City going to Sucat Highway, traffic is moderate. And from Sucat Road, Parañaque City going to Baclaran, traffic is light. Gerry, tomorrow is Friday, and we are reminding our motorists that the number coding will start to be implemented at 7 in the morning. Vehicles with plates ending in 9 and 0 will end at 7 in the evening. And that is the latest traffic update. Back to you, Gerry.
Thank you for that report, Aiko Miguel from Quezon Avenue. Commuters react to the possible increase of minimum jeepney fares. Grace Cassin tells us why.
Commuters expressed dismay over the possibility of an increase in the minimum jeepney fare. This after public utility jeepney operators announces that it will file petition to increase jeepney fare to 10 pesos if the government will impose additional tax on petroleum products.
Mahirap na nga yung mga tao, lalo pang
madadagan yung hirap.
Ang hirap niyan kasi sa hirap ng buhay ngayon, pag yung pamasahe itaas pa, masisira yung mga budget natin.
Malaking ano din yun sa amin, lalo na nagtatrabaho kami, hindi naman po minimum yung sahod namin.
The Department of Finance or DOF, however, is determined to impose tax increase for oil products. From the current 4 pesos and 35 centavos excise tax per liter, it will be 10 pesos. DOF also sees a 4% annual indexation of excise tax rates. According to DOF Secretary Carlos Dominguez III, the excise tax on petroleum products was not adjusted for 2 decades. Thus, it is high time for the government to alter it.
We will also index the oil excise to inflation. Indexation is a built-in mechanism that will make the tax system responsive to economic conditions.
For their part, jeepney operators are asking for a 10 peso minimum fare because for them, this is the only way they could compensate for their loss. Pasang Mazda President Obet Martin says the burden should not be passed to the drivers.
Kung talagang tataasan ang excise tax sa petroleum product from 4.50 or 5 pesos to 10 pesos, wala ko kami magagawa kundi ang mag-file ng formal petition for increase of rates.
It is a fact that many will be affected if the price of petroleum products strikes, but the Department of Finance is asking for a little sacrifice from the public, while the current administration is on their way in fixing the system in our country. The agency assures that all of this is for the benefits of every Filipino family. Grace Cassett, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Bureau of Immigration has blocked the entry of more than 700 foreigners to the country beginning last July. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Bureau of Immigration record shows that as of last July, 720 foreigners were barred from entering the country. This is because of the failure of these foreigners to explain the purpose of their travel, while some were either improperly documented or are included in the agency's derogatory list. Topping the list were Chinese nationals.
Prior to the July statistics of 720, the past months we had only 200 plus exclusions. It only indicates that the Bureau of Immigration is stepping up its monitoring and identification of possible undesirable aliens coming in to the country.
However, the Bureau can further intensify its efforts in guarding the country's border if an Advanced Passenger Information System or APIS is already operational in the country. Through this, the BI will be able to know and screen which personalities are coming into the country even before their airlines reach the airports. The Immigration Bureau has already presented a proposal to the Department of Justice and hopes that it would reach Malacanang and also be approved by the President. The BI says aside from the need of funds for the project, an executive order is also needed to oblige the airline companies to abide by the guidelines with regard to the Advanced Passenger Information System.
The law only states that they are required to give us a list after they have landed or before, right before they depart. Ito po, hinihingi po natin yung listahan sa kanila bago pa man sila lumapag dito sa bansa. Kaya po kinakailangan din ng executive order para po maipatupad dito. Ito po ay makakapagbigay sa atin ng mas mahabang panahon para po ma-screen at madaan sa database ang mga passengers.
The APIS was also pushed during the previous administration but it did not materialize. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
The Ombudsman aims to finish in 2017 the investigation on all 240 lawmakers allegedly involved in the Kidnap scam. Monokson tells us why.
There are complaints against more than 200 congressmen involved in the PDAF scam still pending in the office of the Ombudsman. Ombudsman Conchita Carpio Morales says they aim to finish the investigation on all congressmen involved. There are 240 present and former congressmen who will possibly face graft charges if the Ombudsman will find probable cause in their investigation. All of the said complaints are related to the Napoles PDAF cases. Meanwhile, Morales refused to comment on President Rodrigo Duterte's plan to revisit Janet Napoles PDAF cases.
I don't know what he means revisiting of the Napoles case. Hindi natin alam. To us, that's vague. So, no comment.
Thank you.
We're not worried because what we did was what we think is in accordance with law.
Ombudsman Morales also refutes allegations that they filtered out Aquino allies from PDAF scam investigations. Morales says they decide which case will be investigated first based on the amount involved in the complaint.
We decide which case should first be investigated. We do it in accordance with the amount. The higher the amount, the priority is to investigate these big amounts involved in the PDAF.
Morales also refused to comment on the suggestion of the Commission on Human Rights that the Office of the Ombudsman should help investigate public officials involved in illegal drugs. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue.
The AFP Western Mindanao Command reported that the decapitated head of what seems to belong to kidnapped victim Patrick James Almodovar was recovered by the local police in Barangay Kadyatan, Indanan, Sulu. The head, believed to be of Almodovar, was wrapped in a plastic bag and was left by 3 alleged members of the Abu Sayyaf group aboard a motorcycle. As of this report, the decapitated head is being processed and investigated by the elements of the scene of the crime operatives and Indanan police. Almodovar was abducted by the Ahang group last July 16, 2016 in Barangay Asturias, Hulo, Sulu. The Department of Agriculture presented to the House Appropriations Committee its proposed budget for next year worth 50.6 billion pesos. Grace Casin tells us why.
The proposed budget of the Department of Agriculture for 2017 is about 50.6 billion pesos. This is higher than this year's budget of 48.9 billion pesos. Agriculture Secretary Manny Piñol says the National Expenditure Program is based on President Rodrigo Duterte's planned programs. The agency plans to focus on 10 poorest provinces each year to implement livelihood programs that will alleviate poverty in these areas. The Secretary also presented how the agency will implement modernization by using new technology in the agriculture sector. The proposed budget for the National Food Authority is 15.1 billion pesos, which is 8.3% higher compared to this year's budget. The National Irrigation Administration has a proposed budget of 36.35 billion pesos with an 11% increase. The DA also implement the Easy Access financing program for farmers and fisher folks.
We have already allocated initially 750 million, which we will download to reliable NGOs or local government units, which will then relend this to our farmers.
The Agriculture Department also presented before the lawmakers their proposed measures. This includes seeking free irrigation, pushing for Coco Levy Trust Fund, Land Use Policy Bill, Urban Agriculture, Philippine Native Animal Development Act, and Framework for Adequate Food. Grace Casin, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Typhoon Dindo with international name Lion Rock is now moving almost stationary, while the southwest monsoon affects the western section of Luzon. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration, or PAGASA, says estimated at 4 p.m. today, the eye of the Typhoon Dindo is located based on all available data at 970 kilometers east of Itbayat, Batanes. It is moving almost stationary with maximum sustained winds of up to 160 kilometers per hour near the center and gustiness of up to 195 kilometers per hour. Meanwhile, the southwest monsoon affects the western section of Luzon. Cloudy skies with light to moderate rains and isolated thunderstorms are expected over Ilocos region, central Luzon, and Mimaropa. On the other hand, Metro Manila and the rest of the country will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. The Palawan Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council is now on red alert. Yoshiko Sata will tell us why.
Some areas in Palawan are still flooded due to several days of continued rainfall. This prompted the Palawan Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Office, or PDRRMO, of some municipalities to go on red alert.
Tinitingnan din natin yung mga areas na prone to landslide, prone to floods, prone to storm surge, at inaalam natin per area yun. At nang sa gayon, pag may dumating na isang calamity, tututukan natin.
The PDRRMO says they are continuously monitoring the towns of Nara and Quezon, Palawan that are still inundated until now. About 5 families have evacuated from the towns of Nara, Española, Quezon, Rojas, and Taytay because of landslides. The local government, meanwhile, assures that they have enough funds for the affected families.
Masasabi ko yes lagi kaming ready. Lagi kaming meron enough para sa ating mga kababayan. And we really just have to take note na ang provincial government is on the augmentation side. Bali, syempre, yung LGU mismo na naapektuhan, sila muna yung magbibigay ng mga assistance.
The PDRRMO reminds the public anew, especially those living in low-lying areas, to evacuate to a higher ground should the rain continue. Yoshiko Sata, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
Coming up, CPP sets to declare a new ceasefire on August 28th.
China unveils the design concept of the Mars probe.
Prince William gets sporty and plays video games during a visit.
More from Y News after this break. Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno meets the members of the media for her annual press conference in Intramuros, Manila. Before answering questions from the press, the Chief Justice tackled reforms to expedite trial of drug cases, among others. But she points out that the fight against illegal drugs is everybody's concern, and all the courts can do is act on cases brought before them.
Courts cannot prevent the entry, manufacture, sale, or use of drugs. It does not gather intelligence. It does not enforce the law, prosecute cases, or run rehabilitation programs. What it provides is justice to the state and the victims if there is enough evidence of guilt, and to the accused if there is none.
Sereno also shares the court's observation on the trial of drug cases. She provides an explanation to the low conviction rate of drug suspects.
Many drugs cases are delayed or dismissed for the following reasons: the absence of police witnesses, the dearth of prosecutors or public attorneys, and the weak evidence of the prosecution in relation to the rules on chain of custody and inventory of seized drugs and paraphernalia.
The Chief Justice also tackles the Maguindanao massacre case, among other high-profile cases. Last year, Sereno says they are eyeing partial judgment on some of the principal suspects by June this year. Sereno also calls on the people to support reforms of the judiciary. The renal gift allowing life for others, or the Regalo organ donation advocacy, was launched today. Yoshiko Sata will tell us why.
In 2015, the number of kidney patients in the country who went through dialysis reached to 14,000, and only 475, or equivalent to 3.4% of them, received a kidney transplant. There are about 41,000 Filipinos who develop kidney failure daily, and most of them need transplantation for their end-stage renal disease. According to the Kidney Foundation of the Philippines, the number of living and deceased kidney donors remain dismally low. To help address the problem, the renal gift allowing life for others, or the Regalo organ donation advocacy, was launched this morning to increase awareness on kidney transplantation and to encourage more Filipinos to give the gift of life by becoming organ donors. The Regalo organ donation advocacy encourages those who are interested to be an organ donor, or those who have loved ones who already passed away, to help the kidney patients.
Living donors can safely give a kidney. You can easily live a very fruitful and successful life with one kidney. The act of donation is a very safe procedure.
The Regalo organ donation advocacy aims to change the mindsetting of the public that kidney donation is harmful to a donor's health. The kidney donation is not risky on the part of the donor. Instead, it aids for the survival of the recipient. Yoshiko Sata, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The recipient of the world's most extensive face transplant says he's doing great. Aaron Romero tells us why.
The recipient of the world's most extensive face transplant said he's doing great 1 year after undergoing the groundbreaking surgery. Mississippi firefighter Patrick Hardison, whose face was severely burned when the roof of a home collapsed on top of him 15 years ago, told a press conference at New York University's Langone Medical Center that he's off of his feeding tubes and his vision has improved.
I'm here today because I want others to see that there is hope beyond the injury. I am especially proud to share my story with other injured firefighters, first responders, as well as U.S. military. If sharing my story helps just one person explore the possibility of face transplants, then it's been worth it.
Hardison underwent a 26-hour surgery last year. He received the face of a 26-year-old David Roadball, a BMX extreme bicycling enthusiast from Brooklyn, who was pronounced brain dead after a cycling accident.
I can now see to drive. It's great to take my kids to school. It's a great thing. I sleep better. It's just great. No more stares from strangers. I'm pretty much back to being a normal guy doing normal activities. My life has changed and it has been renewed.
Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
The death toll from a devastating earthquake in central Italy rose sharply to almost 250 people earlier today after rescue teams worked through the night to try to find survivors under the rubble of flattened towns. The strong 6.2 magnitude quake struck early on Wednesday as people slept, razing homes and buckling roads. Two powerful aftershocks registered 5.1 and 5.4. The mayor of one of the worst-hit towns said Hotel Roma, which collapsed in the small town of Amatrice, probably had about 70 guests and only 7 bodies had been recovered so far. The Civil Protection Agency said it was trying to determine how many people were staying at the hotel. Officials say the death toll is expected to rise further. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos announces war with the Farsi rebels is over. Meanwhile, UNICEF says nearly 500,000 children around Lake Chad are likely to suffer severe acute malnutrition. And Nunez tells us why.
In Cuba, Colombia's government and Marxist FARC rebels reached a final peace deal on Wednesday to end a 5-decade war which once took the resource-rich country to the brink of collapse. Under the historic agreement to end one of the world's longest conflicts, the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, or FARC, will lay down arms and reintegrate into civilian life.
Hoy podemos decir, por fin, que todo está acordado. Gracias a un esfuerzo titánico de las delegaciones en la mesa de conversaciones, se acordaron los últimos temas pendientes, se cerraron las negociaciones y tenemos un texto definitivo del acuerdo final para la terminación del conflicto. Repito, se cerraron las negociaciones y tenemos el texto definitivo del acuerdo final. Este texto es inmodificable.
More than 220,000 people were killed in the conflict. Tens of thousands disappeared and millions fled their homes because of the violence. The accord will now go to a plebiscite vote on October 2. In Nigeria, nearly 500,000 children around Lake Chad are likely to suffer severe acute malnutrition due to drought and a 7-year insurgency by Islamist militant group Boko Haram, UNICEF said. Of those 49,000 people in Nigeria's Borno State, Boko Haram's heartland will die this year if they do not receive treatment, according to the United Nations Child Agency, which is appealing for $308 million to cope with the crisis. However, to date, UNICEF said it had only received $41 million, 13% of what it needs to help those affected in the 4 countries: Chad, Nigeria, Niger, and Cameroon that border Lake Chad. UNICEF said that as Nigerian forces captured and secured territory, aid officials were starting to piece together the scale of humanitarian disaster left behind in the group's wake. In Libya, Libyan forces prepared for what some in the military describe as the decisive battle to oust Islamic State from its stronghold of Sirte. The forces, mainly brigades from the city of Misrata, say they are close to capturing Sirte after taking most of the city in a 3-month campaign and restricting militants to a shrinking residential area in the city center. Since August 1, they have been supported by U.S. airstrikes. The United States is carrying out airstrikes against Islamic State positions in the city, a move that has accelerated the progress of Libyan forces, whose advance had been slowed down by suicide bombings, snipers, and mines. Islamic State took control of Sirte last year, setting up a proto-state modeled on its practices in Iraq and Syria and enforcing its ultra-hardline rule on residents. Ann Nunez, UNTV News and Rescue, Philippines.
The Communist Party of the Philippines, or CPP, intends to declare a new ceasefire starting August 28, 2016. In the sidelines of the ongoing formal peace talks between the Philippine government and the communists in Oslo, Norway, CPP founder Jose Maria Sison says the new ceasefire will be issued before the first one expires prior to the talks. The CPP-NPA declared a 7-day truce that will end on Saturday, August 27. Sison says this next ceasefire duration will be indefinite, depending on certain conditions and circumstances.
The Olympic refugee team returns to Nairobi from Rio with a warm welcome. Meanwhile, Belgium wins Stage 5 of La Vuelta as Colombia regains the overall leader's red jersey. Aaron Romero tells us why.
Gianni Mearsman won Stage 5 of La Vuelta in a sprint finish in Lugo on Wednesday. Colombian rider Darwin Atapuma of BMC retained the overall leader's red jersey. Belgian Edix Quickstep rider Mearsman finished Wednesday's relatively flat 171.3 kilometers from Viveiro to Lugo in Galicia, northwestern Spain, in 4 hours 16 minutes and 42 seconds. There was a big crash in the last kilometer behind the leaders. Atapuma's total time for the 5 stages is 17 hours, 39 minutes and 52 seconds. Alejandro Valverde of Movistar and Tour de France winner Chris Froome of Sky remained second and third overall, 28 seconds and 32 seconds back. Stage 6 today runs 163.2 kilometers from Monforte de Lemos to Luintra and comprises many more climbs and descents than Stage 5. Meanwhile, a group of 5 refugees originally from South Sudan who took part in the Rio Olympics as an independent team landed back in Nairobi to a warm welcome. They are Angelina Naday Lohalith, Rose Nathine Loconian, Yek Pur Biel, Paula Amotun Lokoro, and James Nyang Shinjek. Kenya's former Olympian Tegla Lorup was the head of mission for the team, urged other governments and associations to come out and help the refugees attain their full potentials as exhibited by the Kenyan government in supporting the team that went to Rio.
A person called refugee, they are not bad people, but they are talent inside like our people. And therefore, the National Olympics in all over the world should also emulate what the Kenyan National Olympic Committee and also our government, that they have given this opportunity for these athletes to participate and show their talent in Rio.
The 5 athletes come from the newest state where violence has killed hundreds of people and forced thousands others to seek refuge in neighboring countries. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
China is set to launch a mission to Mars by 2020. Aaron Romero is back to tell us why.
China unveiled for the first time the designed external appearance of its Mars Voyager, which is expected to be launched around 2020. The Voyager is designed to include the orbiting, landing, and roving missions within itself. Chief designer of China's first Mars exploration mission, Zhang Rongqiao, said that the Voyager consists mainly of three parts. One as the orbiter, and the other as the landing capsule, with still another as the roving inside the latter. Zhang added that the orbiter will have remote sense on Mars while in orbit. Zhang Rongqiao said that China has attained a lot of experience and technology in manned and unmanned space missions, and that the country should make full use of its moon exploration in its Mars mission. But what makes the Mars mission different from all previous missions lies in the unknown factors around and on Mars itself, according to the chief designer.
我们要在火星上要把这些不同的减速方式要把它组合起来进行这个减速。关键是什么呢？就是这些不同的环节在我们不确定的这些火星环境当中如何协调有效地完成它的使命，这是难题。
Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
Prince William plays pool and video games on visit to youth charity while Kate Middleton meets young bakers. Meanwhile, Syria opens its first book fair amid crisis. Robbie de Guzman tells us why.
Syria holds its first book fair since the beginning of the crisis at the Al-Assad National Library in Damascus. Vice President Naja Al-Attar and many other government officials were present at the opening ceremony on Wednesday night. Al-Attar denounced those who oppose Syria for targeting children, colleges, and other educational facilities, and said that the book fair would allow Syria to regain sources of knowledge. Some 75 Syrian publishers attended the event. The book fair will run until September 3. Meanwhile, the prince played computer games with young people at the center in Luton's Butte Mills, which is where the charity Youthscape is based. The site was reopened in April following a £3.2 million renovation with space for therapeutic work with young people and areas to train youth workers and professionals from across the UK. William also took part in a game of pool during his visit, initially struggling on his opening shot before going on to pot his next hit. Kate Middleton met youths who were baking puddings. The Day of Engagements also takes in a visit to a hospice and Hayward Tyler Litton to present the firm with an Enterprise Award. Robbie de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue.
Those are the reasons behind the news, August 25, 2016. I'm Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
And I'm Darlene Basingan, because we need to know.
We will always ask why. Thank you for watching Y News.